On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Charles Dwayne Miles. File number is 22-01246. Council Parent.
Good morning, Your Honor. Chris Martin for the people.
Morning, Your Honor. Robert Palmer, the Public Defender's Office, appearing on behalf of Mr. Charles Miles, who appears today from the Ingham County Jail.
Thank you. Today's the date that's set for a probable cause conference. How are we proceeding on this?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we're asking that the matter be left set for the preliminary examination next week. My office just received the discovery late yesterday, and so we're finally starting to go through that. I've also had a productive conversation this morning with Mr. Martin about how to proceed, and I will be setting up another meeting to speak with my client about that. The other matter, Your Honor, is that if the court would allow me to, I would like to address bond today. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Miles is currently in custody. Bond is set at $55,000 cash. That seems, I would suggest to the court that seems high to me. Mr. Miles is a longtime Lansing resident. He has quite a bit of family here. He was employed until recently. Although he has a lengthy criminal history in terms of pages of the document, I would suggest to the court when the court starts to review that, it's not as significant as it may have originally appeared. A lot of those matters are traffic offenses. There's a lot of and whatnot. It's my understanding that Mr. Miles does not have a history of failing to appear. He is a local resident. He's got a lot of family here. I certainly have had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Miles about the cases, and he's certainly denying the allegations. He's entitled to a presumption of innocence. I have no doubt that Mr. Miles would return to court when ordered to do so. I would ask that the court consider, if not either a PR bond, but if not a PR bond, a low 10% bond. I think that this is not a violent offense. There is no victim per se in this case, and I would ask that the court consider modifying.
The prosecution want to respond?
Your Honor, I've also had an opportunity to review Mr. Miles's criminal history, and it is extensive, and it includes a number of felony offenses. The defendant spent some time in prison. So if the court and there are some violent offenses on that criminal history as well. So if the court is inclined to reduce the bond, we ask that some cash bond remained in place just to ensure that Mr. Miles continues to take this case seriously. It continues to, if he's let out of jail, has an incentive to appear.
Judge, I guess the only other thing I would add is that if the court is concerned about his failure to appear, I would suggest that there are other methods that could ensure that appearance, such as a GPS tether rather than cash. I think that Mr. Miles's financial situation would prevent him from posting any sort of significant cash bond, which is why he remains in custody. So I would ask the court consider alternative options.
Judge at a range, Mr. Miles had the benefit of reviewing his criminal history himself. I do not have that benefit at this point. I have no idea what's on his criminal history. I can only rely on what both you and Mr. Martin are saying. It does sound like he does have an extensive criminal history, which includes some violent history as well. In this particular case, he is charged with 4 counts of controlled substance delivery manufacturer, which are punishable with a maximum penalty of 20 years each. And I see a habitual offender notice here. Enhancing his sentence as well. So these are very serious charges. I don't know if he has a history of failing to appear in court before. I don't have that information before me. To the extent that I'll give a personal recognizance, but I think that's inappropriate based on the charges and the history here. I will reduce the bond. It's going to still be a cash surety bond. I'll reduce it to a 25,000 cash surety. All other bond conditions are continuing as they originally were issued at the time of arraignment. Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Miles, we'll see you next week.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Thompson?
This is over with.
Mr. Miles, yeah, you're free to go for now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I put Jada Page and waiting room because I don't need to see anybody getting dressed. Who brought it back? Okay, who's on Gardner?
You said I was free to go, right?
Who's the one we can't find? Yeah. Yes, yeah. Somebody from the civil department, the criminal department give you a
Excuse me, you said I was free to go, right?
warrant. All that information, they can print that, they have that.
Did she say I was free to go?
I'm sorry?
Excuse me, did you say I was free to go, right?
You are free to go, sir, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, he needs to go get me some more information on Gardner.
Sure. Certainly not in any rush.
You guys just continue to exam or are we handling something?
No, we will be continuing that to the exam. Judge, Ms. Lacy did send me an offer last night. I just haven't had a chance to talk to her about that.
Okay, so Gardner is continuing to exam?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Gardner, my understanding is that you're gonna continue your matter to exam, so your attorney will be in contact with you to discuss an offer that he recently received, okay? You're muted, can you unmute?
Excuse me. Did you say, excuse me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, one moment. Yes, Mr. Miles?
Yes, I was trying to, I couldn't hear what you said the bond was.
25,000 cash surety.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Ms. Gardner, did you have a question?
no, I don't.
Okay, well then you're all set. We'll note that your matter is continuing to exam next week, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
Same to you. Jada Page,
All right, they're gonna make an offer to me.
let me remove her. Jada Page, can you unmute, please?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Jada Page. The file number is 22-01244 FT. Council appearance, please.
Your Honor, Andrea Lacy is hearing on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. James Keithley, Assistant Public Defender, appearing on behalf of Jada Page, who is present via Zoom.
And given today's date set for a probable cause conference, how are we proceeding on this matter?
Thank you, Your Honor. This time, we're going to be asking if this matter be left set for preliminary examination next week. An offer was extended to Ms. Page. However, I have not yet had an opportunity to discuss it with Ms. Page. Additionally, I just wanted to put the court on notice. We are asking that it be left set. However, at this time, I have not yet received discovery. So I assume I'm going to get discovery and plenty of time to prep for a preliminary examination. However, I may end up having to request an adjournment of the prelim if I don't get it in ample time before the exam next week.
Oh,
And just so everyone is aware, Your Honor, he did make, Mr. Keithley did make me aware of that this morning. I do show an appearance having been filed by his office on his behalf. For some reason, it's not updated in my system, but I did email and ask them to get that discovery over to him as soon as possible.
I know the discovery is still outstanding at this time, and that we'll continue to examine the good discovery and discuss the offer with your client.
Thank
Any
you.
additional matters for the record?
One thing for the people.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Page, you're all set. We'll see you next week.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I see Michael Thomas says continue to examine, are they not plugging him in? I don't think. I did with the email. Do I have to handle anything for you all?
We had one item for Ronald Williams at 8:30, but as far as I'm aware, he had contacted in and we don't have an appearance.
Okay, so is anyone monitoring your Zoom? Make sure he doesn't log into your Zoom.
I can go check if he's kind of running it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are you here for Andre Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry? Oh. Are we continuing to examine that one?
We are continuing with Zoom.
Any additional, or anything we need to go on the record for?
No, I haven't. I believe I followed the discovery.
Okay, I'll just note here that we're continuing to examine. It sounds like, or it seems like we have that's one of the files that they can't locate. So, Mr. Kelly, you're muted, but your attorney
ma'am.
says that you're going to continue to exam.
I haven't had a chance to speak with him.
Okay, you haven't had a chance to speak with him when, today? Or at
Yes,
all?
ma'am. Today.
Okay, well, that's different. You don't have to speak today if you spoke before now and the decision is to continue to exam. But if you want to speak with him, he can give you a call.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't really understand what's going on right now.
Okay,
He said that.
do you have his contact information?
No, ma'am.
Okay, did you want to log in to Zoom at all? I think he's the only one you're waiting for. Well, yeah, Benavidez.
Yes.
Okay. He needs some understanding, so. We'll have him log in and I'll put you in a private meeting room, okay, sir?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Rothstein? Mr. Martin, what's the other one you're waiting on?
Your Honor, the Melissa Shaw case, Mr. Rothstein is here on that matter.
Okay, Mr. Rothstein, have you been in contact with your client at all?
I have been in contact with my clients. Matter of fact, there were several texts that went yesterday. So my understanding is that she knew it was me. I told her there was court. I explained to her what was going to go on today. I've called her several times on the phone and I've given the Zoom number. And I told her he must appear via Zoom at 9 a.m. I don't know if she's outside, but I've made several attempts to call her in the last several weeks and text her. And from my text yesterday, I can tell the court that she did know I was talking, that she was talking to me. So I'm not sure what's going on with Ms. Shaw at this point.
Okay, she was scheduled for 8:30, not 9 a.m.
Okay, well, that is then my fault because I had it scheduled at 9. I did ask her to zoom in. And I don't know if she's in the hallway or not. That's the most I can
We just
report right
checked the
now.
hallway, there's no one there. So I'll give you a couple minutes just because there was some level of miscommunication between the two of you. But she was
Right.
arraigned and given a notice to appear here at 8:30.
Understood. That's, and I understand that is, I told her she had to appear at 9, but we can wait a few more minutes. At this point, I'm not sure she's going to appear.
Okay, I'll see who this is on the Galaxy A70. They don't have a name. Okay, is it Marcelo Lopez?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Your Honor. I represent Mr. Lopez. This is a file that is before Judge Ward.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, I need to walk over to the 54A District Court to appear in Judge Buchanan's courtroom. If Ms. Schaub appears, I can certainly come into the courtroom and appear in person, but I will be logging off for a few minutes to walk over to court.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
We're on the record in the matter of the people. I'm sorry, is the prosecutor here? Is it Mr. Marshall? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry, Bob Marshall on behalf of the people.
Okay, thank you. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Marcelo Lopez. Our number is 22-01153FY. Counsel appearance.
Bob Marshall on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jacob Starks, the fourth Assistant Public Defender, here on behalf of Mr. Lopez. Mr. Lopez and I are appearing by Zoom this morning. We both consent to appearing in this way for these proceedings.
Thank you. Today's the date that was set for a probable cause conference before Judge Ward. Are you continuing to examine this matter?
Your Honor, at this time, Mr. Lopez, with the understanding that we're still waiting on discovery, and then further, I also have some scheduling issues for next week. Requests to have his preliminary examination, but he's willing to waive his timeline. I have a trial that is scheduled to run into next week and could run me up to right to the 26th. Further, we're also waiting on some additional discovery from the prosecutor. So we are requesting a preliminary examination for this matter, but Mr. Lopez is willing to waive his timeline.
Okay, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, ma'am.
What your attorney says, your understanding of how you're proceeding at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand that you have a statutory right to have your preliminary examination within 21 days of your arraignment?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you waiving the 21-day timeline based on the information he provided, including ongoing discovery and his conflict with his schedule so that the matter can be reset?
Yes, ma'am.
Like forcing you to waive your 21-day timeline?
Yes, ma'am. What I want to do what my attorney says.
Okay, I asked, is anyone forcing you to waive the 21-day timeline? So is Mr. Starks forcing you to do that?
Oh, no. I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Okay, no problem. Is anybody promising you anything to waive the 21-day timeline?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you clearly.
No problem. I will get you a new date. We can schedule them for June 3rd at 9 a.m. Does June 3rd work for you at 9 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, this matter will be rescheduled for June 3rd at 9 a.m. before Judge Ward. Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. You're all set for today, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you.
Who's in the jail?
Michael Thomas.
Okay, Mrs. Thomas, my understanding is that your matter is continuing to exam.
Could you repeat that, please?
That's correct, Your Honor.
My understanding is that your matter is going to continue to exam. Are you represented by
Yes.
Ms. Donnelly?
Yep.
Okay.
It's
And
Mr. Petrovich.
it's Mr. Petrovich?
And
Okay.
Ms. Donnelly's gonna be covering at the exam day.
Okay, sounds good. So you're all set for today then, sir?
So do I go back?
That's correct. You're all set.
Okay, have a nice day.
You too. Okay. Moto G Power. closer with the red do-rag on.
All right,
What's your
this is
name?
Dalton Moore. I'm just logging in and getting ready for 9:30.
Okay, well, I'm gonna turn the camera off while you continue to get ready and take your do-rag off, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who is on Ronald A12?
Me,
I don't know who me is.
Ronald Williams.
You'll have at least 3 different Williams. Okay, let's see. Who's the attorney on this? Does he have an attorney?
Yeah, I believe it's Mr. Feigelson. Mr. Feigelson, he was out in the hallway. I can grab him.
Yes. Ferguson's on Corey Williams. He's on Ronald Williams. I think this is Judge Ward.
He said that he has a different.
Yeah, I just said that.
I can look, Judge, if you.
Yeah, it doesn't have an appearance in here. I think he's on Corey Williams. This is Ronald Williams. Who's on the Moto G Power 2021?
Wyatt Rademacher.
Can you repeat that?
Wyatt Rademacher.
Okay, thank you. That's yours, Mr. Palmer.
That is, Judge. Would it be okay for me to log in and have a breakout room with him? I've not been able to get into contact.
No problem.
I'm looking on.
No problem. I can do.
Your Honor, according to the notes in my file, assuming this is 22,978, what? For Ronald Williams?
Yeah, 978?
Yes.
Yes.
Judge, he applied for court-appointed counsel, and there is a note in this file that says that his request was denied based on making significantly more than the off limits.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll step out, Judge. and log in, so I can switch it.
Okay. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Ronald Reagan Williams, file number 22-00978 FY. Council appearance, please.
Bob Marshall on behalf of the people.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, can you unmute, please? Can you unmute your device, sir? Okay, very good. Mr. Williams, it appears that you applied for court-appointed counsel. However, you were denied because you make too much money, sir.
Okay.
So are you intending now to see if you can hire or retain private counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so your preliminary examination is scheduled next week for Judge Ward on May 26, 2022 at 8 o'clock in the morning.
May 26th, yes, ma'am.
I am not going to address your timeline at this point. I'll wait for you to see if you're gonna get an attorney or not. You should appear next week in person, with or without an attorney, and then Judge Ward can address any timeline necessary if that needs to happen next week, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions at this time?
No, I do not.
Okay, you're all set for today.
All right, thank you. Have a blessed day.
Same to you. That's good. Mr. Kelly, did you have a question?
I think I'm just waiting on the attorney still.
Mr. Nichol? You need to go in a private meeting room?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, just a moment. You didn't see anyone in the hallway waiting for us, did you?
Anyone?
Well, I'm wondering if Ms. Sharp showed up or not.
I don't know what.
Okay, I'm gonna issue a bench warrant. Mr. Rothstein, you're free to go. Melissa?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Melissa Shaw?
I need to put Mr. Palmer in. I need to see if you can do it on top, 'cause I have big list. What I list today?
I can tell there's
I have to put
something
those
right.
things back in. You tear me up. I went too long without wearing. And I don't have a container. Oh, it's on trash, huh? You on trash? Now? You said that. No shade. This is like trade 19 too, like I'm really behind. So I put you in a private meeting room with your attorney. Okay. Good morning. Who's Hugo's iPhone?
That's me, Marion.
Marion Dunwoody Moore?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Can you rename him for me? Who's on the Galaxy A10?
My name is Corey Williams.
Okay. Your attorney is logging on now. Okay, Mr. Williams? Commons Valley, yeah. think. Mr. Abbott.
No, that's.
Mr. Abbott hasn't started his audio yet. While we're waiting for Mr. Abbott, Mr. Corey Williams is here. Is that yours? Or is that Feigelson?
That's mine, Your Honor.
Okay, did you need to speak to him?
I probably do quickly, Your Honor, if I may, in a breakout room.
Okay. Palmer's on the ready.
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Wyatt Redmaker, file number 22-01030FY. Council appearance.
Bob Marshall on behalf of the people, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Robert Palmer of the Public Defender's Office on behalf of Mr. Rodmaker, who appears today.
Today's the date that was set for a probable cause conference for Judge Ward. Are we proceeding to examine this?
Your Honor, I've just spoken to Mr. Rodemaker for the first time this morning. I've gotten some updated information from him, including new contact information, so I don't think that this will be a problem in the future. What I will say is that in speaking with him, he has some other pending matters in Calhoun County, and his counsel there has already referred him to the Forensic Center for an evaluation. My understanding is that that evaluation is actually supposed to occur today. I think that that would actually automatically stay this case if there's an issue for forensics anyway. I would actually intend to, based on my conversation with him this morning, I would have referred him anyway, and will probably still do so. So if the court would grant me 24 hours to get the paperwork filed, I intend to file a forensic referral for Mr. Rodemaker, which I think would then automatically take preliminary examination off the docket next week.
The prosecution want to respond to that?
If I have no objection to that, I believe that he is correct, that it would pull that PE off the docket once the court receives that paperwork.
That is correct. It would pull it off. It's already undergoing a psych eval, you said, and
That's my understanding, Judge. My understanding is that he's actually has already been referred by his Calhoun County Council, and that Mr. Rodemaker is supposed to travel to the Calhoun County Court today to have that evaluation done by Zoom, I believe.
Okay.
So it sounds like that's already going to be done. It may be that we can sort of use that report rather than having to have him screened a second time within the next couple of weeks, I think. But I think there's just some logistics that I've got to figure out for that. But I can file I already have the forensic packet, and I can certainly file that within the next 24 hours.
Okay, very good. So I'll note here on the file that he is scheduled to undergo an evaluation in Calhoun County, but that you are likely to file your own referral if necessary for this court. And I'm here tomorrow, so if you file it tomorrow, I'm able to review it. I'll keep the date for exam here at this point. If you do file your referral, then that will automatically get told. If for some reason that needs to be addressed later, then Judge Ward can address it on the 26th, but I don't believe that's going to be necessary.
Understood. Thank you, Judge.
No problem. Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing from the people.
Nothing from the defense, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. You're all set for today, Mr. Rodemaker.
I will.
You gotta ask them.
You got court next week?
Right
Your
now you
Honor.
do, but that may get pulled, okay? Your attorney will let you know.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Abbott is here. We're on the record in the matters of the people of the state of Michigan versus Anthony Anderson, file number 22-00442. People of the state of Michigan versus Xavier Church, file number 22-00445. People of the state of Michigan versus Marion Dunwoody Moore, file number 22-00446. And the people of the state of Michigan versus Dalton Frank Moore, file number is 22-00447. Council appearance, please.
Morning, Your Honor. Andrew Lacy, appearing on behalf of the people.
And please the court, David B. Carter Jr. on behalf of Mr. Church, who is present in Simmons.
Your Honor, Eric Small for defendant Anderson. Mr. Anderson is on Zoom on the group.
Good morning, Your Honor. John Abbott representing Dalton Moore. He's present by video. Is am I?
Good morning, Your Honor. Ronald Berry appearing on behalf of Marion Didwinnie Moore, who is joining us via Zoom.
Okay, thank you. And today was the date that was set to continue an examination. We had adjourned this examination on April 22nd to allow a victim witness to get counsel or a order of immunity, which I think has been addressed. However, my understanding that there's a request to adjourn.
Yes, Your Honor, it's my understanding that, first I'll address the immunity issue. I did submit an order or petition for immunity for the victim witness. I have not received a copy of the signed order from Your Honor. If the court can provide that from the office, that would be fantastic. Aside from that, Your Honor, yes, there was a late request last night made by Defense Attorney Berry with regards to potential COVID exposure from Defense Attorney Abbott. Hearing in front of a judge who may or may not have COVID yesterday. In addition, Your Honor, I also wrote into the court that I myself am sick, so I had no objections to the adjournment. Unfortunately, I was not able to find any coverage, so I'm here today as well. There is a motion, or there is a request for the adjournment. I have no objection. I believe another attorney at least has no objection. The court's discretion at this time.
Okay, is there any objection to adjournment?
I take no position, but I do want the court to know that I am prepared and ready to go. I only make that record in case something down the road comes and I need some mercy from the court also. I am prepared to go, but I do not hold a position.
Your Honor, I'm likewise prepared, ready to go, but under the circumstances with 4 co-defendants, smaller courtroom, I agree we probably should adjourn.
Okay, I'll grant the request for an adjournment. We're only adjourning this essentially to allow a quarantine period. Is that correct? So I don't have to go any further than maybe a week.
Yeah, I don't think anything further than that would be necessary.
I'm not suggesting that we have availability next week, but just so she knows where to look. What's the only other one we have?
Is it the 15 count armed robbery?
That's what
probably
I'm wanting to know. It's gonna take what?
I think that's gonna take a significant period of time. I don't know if we can be able to do both on the same day.
I think there's what 15 witnesses.
Yeah, there's a lot of witnesses. Thanks so much.
Wait, we have what? Shameful. Wait, we have Shanko, we have what else? It's just. We can get rid of this. June 2nd. June 2nd, work for everyone?
Yes.
Court hearings in Clinton County. In the morning, I'm open, assuming we are done by noon, I guess.
He said he can do it if we're done by noon. You have another exam that day, you saying? Yeah, but it's at 10:30, so we can do 8:30. 8:30 on the second one. I don't know how long
I
your
can
exam
move whatever I have.
is. Your exam virtual or
No,
it's in person?
I have 2 prelims in the afternoon, but 8:30 in the second.
Yes, sure. We probably need to just pick another day. The week before it's on. What was the PCC day? What was the PCC day? What day is it, the 16th? Does June 16th at 8:30 work?
I start a capital case at 16. On a judge.
And you said the second you had a hearing at what time, at noon or afternoon?
For the second,
The second.
I have 2 prelims in the afternoon, starting at 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Okay, but you'll just take this one first on the second. We'll put it on June 2nd at 8:30, yeah. Any additional matters for the record?
Just that I do have a copy of the signed order granting immunity, and I will send that out via email to all the attorneys.
Okay, thank you. Anything from defense counsel?
Nothing.
No, thank you.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're all set. We'll see you on June 2nd at 8:30.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Judge,
Is that Mr. Moore?
yes, ma'am.
You have a question?
Yes.
What's your question?
Would I be able to show up via Zoom? Because I was recently a burn victim in an explosion, and they told me like the sun would be like harsh on my skin.
Well, you should talk to your attorney about that, and then he can advise you of your rights to appear in person. If you want to waive that, then your attorney will let the court know, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hope you get well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No problem. Anybody else have any questions before they leave? Okay, well, then you're all free to go.
Have a good day, Your Honor.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Have a good day, Your Honor.
You
Have a good day, Your Honor.
too.
Have a good day.
You too.
Alan Collins.
Here.
He's here. I think we may have already told the court. I told, it's in front of Judge Ward.
Okay.
Let the court know I hadn't been able to contact my client.
Where is he?
He's in the hallway. I can grab him.
Second, we'll take that one first. So they can get out of there.
It's just a piece of.
On the record in the matters of the people of the state of Michigan versus Alan Collins. We have two files. One is file number 20-02271 FY. The other is 20-02156 FY. Council appearance, please.
Bob Marshall on behalf of the people.
And Assistant Public Defender Scott Nichol on behalf of Mr. Collins, who is present and standing to my right.
Okay, thank you. Today's the date that was set for probable cause conferences before Judge Ward. Are we continuing to examine it?
Yes, this would be a case that would be continued to examine. It's my understanding people do not have any offer at this time.
Is that correct? There's no offer at this time?
No, not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, so this matter, or these matters will continue to examine. They're both scheduled before Judge Ward on May 26th at 8:30 in the morning in person at the court. Okay, sir? Do you have any questions? Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing from the people.
You're all set. Thank you. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Corey Wayne Williams, file number 22-01198 FY. Council appearance.
Bob Marshall on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Stephen Feigelson, appearing on behalf of Corey Williams this morning.
Thank you. And today's the date that was set for probable cause conference before Judge Ward. How are we proceeding on this matter?
Your Honor, I've had a chance to speak to Mr. Marshall and Mr. Williams. Our office just got assigned this case yesterday afternoon at about 5 o'clock, Your Honor. I've not had a chance to fair opportunity to get ready for this case. We'd be asking to adjourn out the PCC past 21-day period. In addition, after speaking with Mr. Williams this morning, he advises me he's in the process of trying to retain the Kuntz Law Firm. So that would be an additional reason for an adjournment to allow Mr. Williams the opportunity to get Mr. Kuntz's firm on board with the case and ready to proceed with the file.
Okay, so Mr. Williams, you understand that you have the statutory right to have a preliminary examination within 21 days of your arraignment?
Yes.
Okay. Are you seeking to waive that 21 days timeline so that you can either hire or retain Mr. Kuntz? Or if you keep Mr. Feigelson to allow him opportunity to get the discovery and prepare for your defense?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody promising you anything to waive that 21-day timeline?
No.
You're not being threatened at all to get you to waive your timeline, are you?
No, I have not.
Okay, we'll get you a new date, sir.
Okay, thank you.
June 17th at 9 a.m. before Judge Ward, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing from the people.
Judge, is that a PCC on the 17th or the prelim on the 17th?
He's gonna need a PCC date. You can do the PCC for the 17th. It's or whatever, what's your PCC date that week? I think she's off the weekend. Huh? The 16th. PCC would be the 16th, at what time? At 8:30.
No. Will that be Zoom or? or in person?
Probable cause conference can be handled via Zoom. That's June 16th at 8:30. And then your
Okay.
exam will be June 23rd at 9 a.m. That's in person, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Any additional matters for the record, council?
No, Your
Nothing
Honor,
from the
thank you. Nothing from the
Thank you,
defense,
you're
Your
all
Honor.
set.
Thank you.
Thank you, you're all set.
Have a good day, Judge.
You too. Haven't seen Mr. Cornish or his client, Blue. Did you get an email or something?
I have not seen Mr. Blue either. I didn't know Mr. Cornish has not checked in back in Dallas. That's fine.
Okay, sounds good.
James,
Yes, Mr. Marshall?
I had emailed Shelley earlier this week that we completed the PCC for Mr. Blue.
Oh, well, wonderful. Thank you.
So continue to examine on that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all the files I have for your court, okay?
Yes, thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. Terry Andre, I've not seen him. Don't look at his big form. Who's his attorney?
I don't know. Judge.
I don't think he has one. I don't see that he has an attorney. And are we ready on Benavidez?
The people are, Mr. Nichols is in the room, but I believe he is now. After everything else this morning with Mr. Zero.
Sounds good. Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus St. Paul Benavides, file number 22-00848FY. Council appearance, please.
Morning, Your Honor. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Adam Pfeiffer for the people.
And Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Benavides, who is present and standing to my right.
Thank you. Today's the date set for a preliminary examination. Are we ready to proceed?
People are ready to proceed, Your Honor.
The defense is ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Preliminary matters.
Your Honor, people will be requesting sequestration in this matter. On behalf of people's witnesses, that would be Officer Matthew Carlson, who is not currently here, and Roland Polito. And then after speaking with Mr. Nickel, I believe that would also encompass the defendant's mother and father.
It would be my intention to call both Mr. Benavides' mother and father today to testify. Would also be calling them at any future proceedings.
Okay.
Would agree they would be subject to the sequestration.
Okay, sequestration order is granted, and so if they are in the courtroom, they need to be removed under that order. Any further preliminary matters?
Not from the people, Your Honor.
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
You can call your first witness.
People call Alicia Medina. She's out in the bench in the room. Oh, perfect. Okay.
You come right up here. When you get right to the chair, you want to stop and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under the penalty of perjury? Thank you, ma'am. You can have a seat there. So there's a couple of rules. You have a very soft voice, but I have a court recorder sitting behind you, and she has to be able to hear and type down everything that you're stating here today. So you want to make sure your responses are as loud and clearly as possible, okay? So you may need to talk in a way that you believe is shouting, but it'll be okay because then we'll be able to hear you, okay? If there is a response that requires a yes or no, you have to give a yes or no verbal response because we can't document head nods and shakes well, okay? Also, you can't do mm-hms and uh-hs because it's hard to articulate that in the record. If there is an objection made by either a party or either attorney, you would stop whatever response you were giving. You'll wait for me to give a ruling, and then I'll tell you if you can respond to the question or not, okay? Please state both your first and last name and spell them both.
Alicia Medina, ALYSIAMEDINA.
Thank you, counsel. You can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Do you know a San Benavides?
I know Saint Benavides.
Saint Benavides.
Okay.
Is that S-E-I-N?
Yeah.
Okay. My mispronunciation. And how do you know Saint?
He's
So you used to date?
Yeah.
And do you see him here in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you please identify where he's located, something he's wearing that differentiates him from the other people in the room?
Wearing yellow and he's back.
If the record could reflect that she's identified the defendant in this matter?
No objection for the purposes of preliminary examination.
Identification is noted.
And on March 7th of this year, was there an incident with Mr. Benavides? And was it an incident that resulted in you calling police?
Yes, I do.
Was that at 1401 West Jolly Road?
Yes, it was.
Is that in Lansing?
Yeah.
Is that in Ingham County?
Yeah.
Now, what can you tell me about what you remember from that day, from that incident?
I remember his car. I specifically remember his arm because he had it on when I was out the window.
Okay, so where were you at this time?
I was out in my carport, which is my mom's house, so we were at the carport getting stuff out of my truck. And I seen two vehicles pulling the driveway. I had no idea, and I couldn't pump. And I ran inside to see other guy out there. Telling me he's gonna shoot my mom's house up.
Now, by Paul, do you mean Mr. Benavides?
Well, yeah, that's what I call him.
Is that because his middle name's Paul?
Probably, that's just what I call him ever since I know him.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same
Sorry,
person.
yeah.
That's okay. And so you saw him in the car with his arm out of the car.
With a gun in his hand.
Could you describe the gun?
It's silver, I think it was a silver one. There's just a little gun.
Like a handgun?
Yeah, it was a little gun.
So not a rifle or a shotgun?
No, it was a little gun.
And where was the gun pointed at? Pointed at you.
Yeah, he was gonna shoot me. Like I was in the carport, he was right there in the car, he was in the driveway.
And how did you know he was going to shoot you?
Cause he said he was gonna kill me.
So while he's pointing the gun at you,
Yeah, did somebody kill me.
and how did you feel in that moment?
I ran inside. I took off and I ran inside, like frantic.
Were you scared?
Yes, I was scared as shit.
Because you thought you were going to be shot.
Yeah, I was scared. Yes, for my life.
So you ran back inside the house. What did you do next?
I started freaking out. I called the police. My stepdad came out. He's like, I seen him too. I seen him.
Now your stepdad, that is Roland Polito?
Yeah.
So what happened after you ran back into the house? Did you see anything else?
I just ran in and I called the police. I ran away from the windows. Like I wasn't, because my mom don't have curtains on the windows. So I got away from the windows to another room.
Well, what was your concern about being near the windows?
He was seeing. Like I tell her all the time to put curtains up because I don't want people to see us.
So you're still worried about being shot even once you were back
I am.
inside?
It's just him. It's just him. It's just him all the time.
Now, you said that you saw his arm. Did you see any other part of Mr. Benavides?
His face.
So you're able to,
I seen him. I know him. I was with him for 7 years. I know him when I see him.
so you know for a fact it was him in
Yeah,
that car.
I do.
You remember if it was the passenger or the driver's
He
side?
was driving. He was on the driver's.
And he was in the driver's seat?
Yeah.
So he wasn't in the back of the car on the
No.
driver's side?
No.
Let's go back a little. You said there were two vehicles?
Yeah.
Could you give a good description so you can remember?
His Mercedes was silver with tinted, a little bit of tint windows. And that the truck behind him was a black pickup truck with an open back, had a little bit of rust on it, with tinted windows in front.
Did you recognize that truck at all?
I didn't even see the person in the truck.
Now, was Mr. Benavides the only one who pointed a gun at you that day?
No, they both did.
So you say both. Who was the other
In
individual?
the truck. I don't know who was in the truck. but they had a
Person who was
gun-
driving
they
that
had a
truck?
big gun out the truck, yeah.
So like a rifle?
Yeah.
Was that also pointed at you?
Yeah.
So you go inside the house, you call the police. What happens next?
I wait for the police to get there. The police officer arrives. He comes in the house. He speaks to me about what happened. He spoke to my stepdad about what happened, what we saw, and he came to the driveway and everything like that. As he's there, he walks out to go do paperwork in his truck and probably goes by.
And you see the car.
And
go
me
by.
and my stepdad both see him drive by. So the police had his head down on paperwork.
Objection, I would object to her testifying to what other people saw or said, because that would be hearsay and want her to limit her, I would ask the court to instruct her to limit her testimony to specifically what she saw that day, not what other witnesses may have seen.
Okay.
Your Honor, I believe it would be a present sense impression exception to the hearsay rule, as he's shouting out what he's actively seeing.
The officers, what you're saying?
No, for the stepfather,
Oh,
He's shutting out what he's
sorry.
actively seeing.
I'm going to allow her testimony in the presence of exception. You continue. The objections overruled.
Thank you, John. But to your knowledge, the police officer didn't see him?
No, he didn't, but he did see it after.
Now, is that the only time that you saw Mr. Benavides that day?
Yes.
Now, you said you went back inside the house and that Mr. Benavides left. And then later on, as you talked to the police officer left, car drove by again. Does car drive by any other times during this?
All the time. I seen Polly all the time.
By all the time, do you mean?
Like I go to a coffee place, I see him at the coffee place passing by.
Objection, I'm gonna object that this is, first of all, this is not responsive to the question. We're talking about that day, that incident. That was a very specific question. She's elaborating about incidents that have nothing to do with what we're here today about.
You want to respond to the objection?
She said all the time, and then I asked her what all the time meant. I believe she's elaborating to that.
Okay, so I think the objection is.
And then I would
relevance.
object to relevance.
I'll grant the objection. You can only answer his question. You can repeat your question.
Thank you. So during this incident, after he first drives up, between then and then when the officers left and you see the officer chasing it.
Yeah.
Did he drive around there anytime in between them?
I don't think so. I don't recall if I seen him or not that day. That was pretty shocking by itself.
And if you're having a hard time I don't remember, perfectly valid answer. He ever shot at you before?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
What's the relevance?
Well, the relevance is whether she believed that he would actually shoot her when he pointed a gun at her. If he shot at her before, that would be very relevant in this case and to her state of mind, whether it was reasonable or not, for her to believe that she was about to be shot. It would also go to whether he believed that pointing a gun at her would make her feel like he was about to shoot her, if he had indeed shot at her before.
If we took that argument, and then the converse would be that if he had not shot at her before, that she shouldn't believe he was going to shoot at her. Is that your position?
No, but it goes to the clear intent behind the action.
Well, I think that the testimony she provided provides sufficient intent. So I'm going to grant and sustain the objection. You do not respond to that question.
Understood. Then at this time, the people have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
Good morning, Ms. Medina. You testified that what we're talking about occurred on March 7th of 2022, correct?
Yeah.
At your house at 1401 Jolly Road?
That's my mother's house.
Your mother's house.
I was staying with her at the time.
Okay. Do you remember approximately what time
I don't.
that occurred?
I don't.
Was it before noon, afternoon?
Afternoon.
Was it?
I don't remember. I don't recall the time at all.
You don't recall the time?
No, I don't. I remember what happened, but not the time.
Okay. Did you? But it was afternoon. Was it after 2 o'clock?
I don't recall.
And you said you saw Mr. Benavides' vehicle pull up,
Yes, I did.
a silver Mercedes.
Yeah.
And the entire vehicle was silver,
Other than the windows and the hood.
other than the windows?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the rims?
I don't recall the rims we had that day.
Okay. You don't call the rims that he had that day?
The switches on a lot.
Okay. Did you call 911 for this incident?
Yes, I did.
You spoke with the 911 operator about what was happening?
Yes, sir, I did.
Play you a few seconds of a 911 call. I just want to know if you recognize your voice.
Okay, is that a house or apartment there? It's a house. It's a house.
Is that your voice?
I don't know. Sir. I don't know.
You don't know if that's your voice?
Can you play it longer so I can hear it more?
Sure.
Disconnected. 517-619-8404. And your name? Alicia Medina.
Okay. Okay, so that's your voice? 911 call you made?
Happened. I have a protection order on St. Paul Benavides, and he's been out in front of my house now for about an hour. Okay. I didn't notice him until now, and then a black truck pulled up, and they put guns in my face, and they pulled out. They left. So I don't know.
So this is phone call about this incident? Okay. And your testimony is you don't recall?
Thank you
But
for
the-
refreshing my memory. He
Okay,
was
but-
there outside on the side of my mom's house.
And the hood was black?
I don't know. But
You just testified that the hood was black.
he's got a silver car. Sometimes the hood is black, sometimes it's not. Like around the time I.
No, I think they left. I'm not sure. And he was in a black truck? He was in his car, the Mercedes, a silver Mercedes with a silver top and peach rim.
So that's your 911 call. And you told them that he was in his car,
Yeah.
silver Mercedes,
Yeah.
silver top, peach rims,
Yeah.
which would be the car that he was driving the day of this incident.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was closer in time to this incident than we are today, correct?
I don't.
This is more closer in time to the incident than we are today. We're farther away from the incident from in time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically right after this incident happened, you called the police, correct?
Yeah.
So your memory is fresher at that moment than it is today.
Right.
Okay, and you were calling 911 because you wanted to report something that you were claiming was going on, correct?
Yeah.
And you wanted the police to investigate it,
I
correct?
wanted them to catch him.
You wanted them to catch him,
They never catch him.
but you wanted them
Yeah.
to
I
arrest
wanted
him.
them.
So you understood that it was, at that time, that it was important to give them accurate details about what he looked like and the car that he was driving. Correct?
Correct.
It's fair to say that the reason that you would have told them that he was driving a silver car, silver top, peach rims is because that was in fact the car he was driving the day on March 7th when this happened, correct?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have lied to them about what
No,
vehicle
I
you were
didn't
driving.
lie about anything. I said to the police.
Okay. And you called the police? Correct.
Uh-huh.
And officer, do you know the name of the officer that you spoke with?
I don't recall.
This was on March 7th.
Yeah.
Hand you kind of a police report.
Objection. Why is he handing the witness a document?
Would seeing a copy of the police report potentially refresh your memory about what time this might have occurred?
I never seen,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the response.
I never seen the police report, but what I recall is what I'm telling you, I recall, and what I don't is what I'm telling you.
Okay, well, the question was, if he showed you a police report, would that refresh your recollection about the time?
About the time that it occurred?
So it's just a yes or no, I don't believe it would.
No,
It would not?
no.
Okay. And you stated that you recognized Mr. Benavides because of the tattoos on his arm and his face,
I know it's his fault, that's why I recognize him.
but you testified specifically you saw his face and the tattoos on his arm. That was your testimony.
Yeah.
But you never saw who was in this other vehicle?
It was printed out and I did not.
Okay. And it was your testimony that while the police officer was in his car, that this car you claim Mr. Benavides was in drove by it?
Resident, yes, he did. That,
Okay. And you testified on the direct that you don't think that the officer saw that car.
He didn't see it, his face was down in paperwork.
What was your testimony on direct that the officer then chased after that car?
After we seen him drive by, my stepdad ran out and told the officer we just seen him.
And your testimony that the officer
Did a U-V and went right after.
and chased right after?
Yes, he did.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Not that you recognized him by more than just his tattoos, right?
Yeah.
You see people as more than just the ink that's on their skin?
Yeah.
And you had been with him for how long?
7 years.
So you've been with this man for 7 years. You'd be able to recognize him if you saw him.
Yes, I did.
And you recognized him that day because you saw his face.
Yes, I did.
Now, when you called 911 and you said that he had been driving, or that he was driving a car with silver Mercedes with peach rims. Now, I want to be clear. Were you telling 911 what you had just seen, or were you trying to just tell them what you knew about his car in general?
I was trying to tell him what I remember about the rims. I don't recall the rims when he pulled in the driveway. I wasn't looking at him when I was running him by.
So did you know that his car, or at least at that time, go back. You've seen him on more than just this incident,
Yeah.
correct? You'd seen him leading up to this incident?
Yeah.
You'd seen him driving a car
Yeah.
times leading up to this incident?
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor. I don't know what the relevance of him seeing, or her seeing him on other occasions is to the incident we're here for today.
Did you want to respond?
If I could be given the latitude to ask simply one more question, I think it will clear it up rather easily.
I think that based on the previous questioning, there's some question about the color of the top of his car and the switching of the rims. So is that where you're leading to?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, the objection is overruled.
Thank you. So in leading up to this incident, had you seen his car to have peach rims?
Yeah.
So when you were calling 911, were you just trying to give them the best description of his car that you had?
Yeah,
Or
I was.
or specifically what you had just seen?
I was trying to give them what I remember. His car looking like, because I've seen black rims as well. I did see pink.
Are we talking about this exact incident or just in general during like span of that week?
This incident.
So you saw black rims on the Mercedes?
Yes, I have a picture of his car with black rims on it. And this is before this incident.
Okay, well, the question I'm having is on the date of this incident, do you remember specifically seeing him with that vehicle with black rims or with peach rims? Or do you not know?
I don't remember what ring was.
Oh,
So what I want to try and make clear here is when you were calling 911, as he had been pointing a gun at you, had you noticed what color his rims were at that time?
I didn't-
Okay, so
I
you
just
were,
knew his car.
you just knew his car in general.
Yeah.
So not, you didn't just know his car from this exact one incident where he's pointing a gun at you, you knew his car in general.
Yeah. I
And that's,
rode in that car before.
and that's the description that you were trying to give 911.
Yeah.
Thank you. The people have no further questions, Your Honor.
you may this witness be excused?
You may.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Medina. You may be excused. You can call your next witness. Oh, and Ms. Medina, I need to advise you, there is a sequestration order so that you're not allowed to discuss any portions of your testimony with any other witness, okay? Okay,
Just don't
thank you.
talk about what you testified to, Mr. Pluto.
Thank you.
Your Honor, at this time,
Is that a witness?
boyfriend, not a witness.
Sounds good. You can call your next witness.
Your Honor, I believe that, that Ms. Medina's testimony is sufficient. People do not need to call anybody else.
Okay. Will the defense be calling any witnesses?
The defense will be calling witnesses.
Okay.
The defense would start by calling Yvonne Benavides.
Thank you. And when you get right to the chair, you can stop and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. You can have a seat there. So there's a microphone in front of you and I have my court reporter behind you. She has to take down everything being stated here today. So your responses need to be clear and loud enough for us to hear, okay? Also, if there is a question that calls for a yes or no answer, you need to state yes or no versus a or a or a head nod or a head shake, okay?
Yes.
Okay, lastly, if there is an objection by either attorney, you will stop talking and stop your response. I'll make a ruling and then I'll tell you whether or not you should give that response or not, okay? You understand, or you want me to repeat that?
I understand.
Okay, please state your first and last name and spell them both.
Yvonne Benavides. YVONNTEPENABIDES.
Thank you. Proceed, counsel.
Benavides. How do you know Sane Benavides?
My son.
And what address do you live at?
1507 Park Avenue. It's Lansing, 48910.
Okay. And approximately where in the city of Lansing is that located?
Morris River Drive, if you're familiar, between Mount Hope Street and Morris River Drive.
Okay, so north or south of the 496?
I don't know which that one is, sorry.
Okay. You know where the river is?
Oh, yeah, we're by the river side.
North or south of it?
I want to say, but I could be wrong. I don't know, honestly.
Okay. But it's what off of MLK?
Yes.
Okay.
If it will help clear things up, the people are willing to stipulate that 1507 Park Avenue is south of 496 and just south of Grand River.
Accept that stipulation. Oh. And you wouldn't have any reason to dispute that. You just don't specifically know. Okay. And were you home on March 7th of 2022?
Correct, yes.
Okay. How, were you home the whole day?
Mm, I had a couple of meetings and I had a caseworker come over for my grandson and my adopted son. It's FSW from CNH.
Okay. Do you remember what time that caseworker came over?
She came over about 1.
Okay.
Oh, no, let me take that back, 12 p.m. to 1.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you had a caseworker at your house from 12 to 1.
Correct.
Okay. Did at any point in that day you leave your house?
In the morning I did to take the kids to school.
Okay. And then did you leave in the afternoon to pick them up?
No,
So other than in the morning when you dropped the kids off from school, you were home the whole day?
correct,
Was anybody else in the house with you?
yeah.
Who?
My son Jeremiah,
Anybody else?
my significant other after 12 p.m. It was like 12:15 p.m.
Anybody else there?
My son St. Paul Benavides.
So St. Benavides was in your house that day.
Yes,
Do you see Mr. Benavides, or do you see your son in the courtroom today?
yes,
Can you identify something he's wearing?
yellow suit.
And the record reflects she identified the defendant as her son, St. Benavides that we're talking about.
The objection.
No, no objection.
It's just going.
Thank you. When you got back from dropping off, did Sane leave at any point that day?
Just to leave my car, or his car, my car, because we had a lot of ice on the driveway.
Okay. So he went out to move cars around?
Just his car, so I can get out.
Okay. You know what time that was?
I don't, sorry.
Did he leave at any point later in the day?
Yes, for work.
You remember approximately what time that was at?
It was either 2:17 or 2:18 p.m.
Okay, so it's after 2 o'clock?
after 2. Yeah.
I just have a question because he mentioned that he moved the car so she could get out. What time was that?
8:30. It was either between 8 and 8:30.
Okay. So you were away from the house from after that time?
Correct, yes.
And were you at the house when he left for work at 2?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so you came back. Okay, thank you.
Do you recognize what you see up on the screen?
Yes.
And what is it?
Yeah.
And so is. And so this is video footage?
Yes.
Okay. From what? Where's,
Or my house address?
let me ask it this way. Do you have security cameras on the exterior of your house?
I do.
Do you have security cameras on the interior of your house?
Yes, I do.
How long have you had those security cameras?
Oh, gosh. The first 8 I got maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
And then the new set I got maybe, I'm not sure if it's been a year.
Within the last year? So the new
Yeah.
set is what you would have had
The
on
new-
March 7th?
Yeah, the new set we did not use because of the time frame. It's either a week or 2, maybe a few days.
Okay.
But the ones that we
we're able to get footage from the old, or the people player one. That goes up to either 19 or 20 days, and it bases everything that we do.
Who what company provided these cameras for you to use?
We're with Guardian Alarm.
Okay, and so these cameras were installed by Guardian Alarm,
Correct. Yes.
and does Guardian Alarm monitor them?
I hope so, yes. Yeah, they had to teach me how to use it because I'm not really savvy with that, but it was hard to do without, because when we did it or look at it, you were trying to hold footage of the date and time, but
Okay, so, but these are Guardian Alarm cameras.
yes.
You
Both
s-
sides.
At this point, I just asked for Mr. Nichols to state for the record specifically what files he is playing on the screen.
Okay, so this is channel 6, CH06, and it is 1400 hours. So just for the record, it is in the files that I have in the prosecutor's office. It is in file number 140000.
I'd just like to confirm it isn't just the AVI file that is playing, it is the channel 6.SMI file that is playing. That's separate, correct?
They are separate files. They play simultaneously. The SMI file is where the timestamp is coming
Okay, thank you.
from. So I would move to admit this security camera footage for the purpose of this exam.
Any objection?
340, Your Honor.
You may.
So, Ms. Benavides,
Yes.
did you yourself pull the security camera footage for that date and time?
My son helped me, my other son,
Which son is that?
my son Jeremiah. Benavides.
You were there when he did that?
Yes. Mhm. Yes, I was on the phone with Guardian Alarm, so we were going back and forth trying to figure out how to.
Is what's shown on the screen an accurate depiction of what you saw in your system for that date and time that you're claiming?
Yes.
Thank you. People have no further objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. Exhibit. How was this marked? Exhibit 1? Is that how you're marking it? Or did you mark the mark?
It would, I haven't had them previously marked. It would be
Okay, defense exhibit A
just.
is amended.
Yep. All right. Do you recognize that car?
Yes,
Whose car is that?
my son, St. Paul.
And what make and model of car does he drive?
I'm so happy. It's the Mercedes.
Okay. So this is his car, and that's how it looked on March 7th?
Correct.
Okay. And you know what color the rims of his car are?
Rose gold.
Rose gold. Do you know personally how they got that?
It's,
How?
he went and had it detailed.
And so this is Sane's car, at least leaving the driveway at, what is the timestamp there?
March 7, 2022. 2:18. Yeah.
So
Or 14, 18. Yeah.
14, 18, and 41 seconds, would that be correct?
Yes.
So that's him pulling out of the driveway?
Yes.
What's the timestamp on the actual video for playback?
Starts at 1400.
Not the subtype.
Oh, it's this, it would be the same, it's just 18.
1844, it's the same.
1840, whatever it is, it's 1841. Because it starts right at 2 o'clock.
Thank you.
So that's when your son left that day.
Yes.
All right. Another file. Proposed as exhibit B. You recognize what this is?
Yes, my cluttered kitchen. I do.
So it's a camera from inside your house.
Yes.
You see the timestamp on it.
Yes.
And for the record, this is channel 01.avi out of the same 140000 fault
With the channel 1 SMI.
with the channel 1 SMI playing as well.
Okay.
It's fair to say this is the video from March 7th at about starting at about 2 o'clock from inside your house looking into your kitchen.
Yes.
And is this a fair and accurate representation of you saw this video as it was downloaded?
Yes.
And it was a fair and accurate representation of what you saw
Yes.
and what happened that day.
Correct.
I would move to admit this video as defense exhibit B.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Oh, the defense exhibit B is admitted.
Back up a little bit. See the individual walking around?
Yes.
Do you recognize who that is?
My son's same thought.
Same individuals who's sitting in the yellow jumpsuit in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you see what the timestamp on that video is?
Yes. 2:09 or 14:09 p.m.
For the record, that would be the 9:33 for the video timestamp.
Correct. That's still son in the house.
Yes. By the laundry. Closet, or no, just- oh.
You recognize this video
Yes.
and what is this, like, what does this camera point at?
That's my car
Okay, so this is down your driveway.
in my driveway. Yes.
Is there a door on this side? What? And do you see what the timestamp is on this video?
Yes, correct. It's 14. Yeah.
From what date?
14. It's March 7th, 2022.
I would move to admit this video as Defense Exhibit C. And this is out of the same 140000 folder. And it is, the video is ch05.avi, but it is also playing the .smi file along with it to get the time. So I'd move for the admission of this as Defense Exhibit C.
Any objection?
No objection to the admission of the preliminary exam.
Exhibit C submitted.
So I'm just gonna move. Stopped it at 17 and 43 seconds, which would be 17:43 on that, on the video. I know you can't see this individual's face, but do you recognize
Yes.
who that is?
Yes.
And who do you believe that to be?
My son, St. Paul.
Why, why do you believe that that is him?
For purposes of the exam, the people are willing to stipulate that is the individual that was just inside of the home in the previous video clip that she identified as the defendant.
Thank you.
Okay. And is that the color of shirt he wears to work?
Yes, that's his uniform.
Okay. And you and your son Jeremiah downloaded this footage?
Mainly Jeremiah for the first one. Was mine. The one I did, it didn't have the watermark. And then Guardian Alarm helped us to get the watermark, the date and times.
Okay.
Jeremiah did that.
So Guardian Alarm somebody from Guardian Alarm helped you figure out how to get the files with the timestamp.
Yeah.
Did you or anyone alter this video in any way while you downloaded it or before you downloaded it?
No.
And to your knowledge, has any of this footage been altered in any way since you downloaded it onto a flash drive?
No, nothing has changed what I have.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Ms. Benavides, who's the name of the caseworker that was there that day from 12 to 1?
The first name is Amber. I don't have the last name.
What agency is she with?
She's with Simmons.
They said your significant other was there as well. What is his name?
He was there in 2015. His name is Steven with the H.
And last name?
Williams.
Would either of them have seen Sam Benavides there that day?
My other son?
No. Would either your significant other Stephen Williams or the CMH caseworker Amber, last name undetermined, have seen Mr. Benavides that day to your knowledge?
Yes, they did.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Is there any redirect?
No redirect.
May this witness be excused?
She may.
Thank you, ma'am. You may be excused. Call your next witness.
Did the court want to caution her about
Oh, I'm sorry.
sequestration?
Thank you. There is a sequestration order, ma'am, so you cannot discuss any portion of your testimony today with any of the other witnesses, okay? Thank you. Can you raise your right hand? Up. I need you to stand and face me and raise your right hand. No problem. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. You can have a seat there. Okay, there's a court reporter sitting behind you. There's a microphone in front of you. She has to be able to hear everything being stated here today. So if you can make your responses loud and verbal, then she'll be able to make a record for us. You cannot respond to yes or no questions with head nods or shakes or mm-hs and uhs because it's hard to articulate that in the record. You need to give us a yes or no. If either of the attorneys make an objection, you would stop any response that you're making. I'll make a ruling and then I'll inform you if you can respond to that question or not, okay? Can you state your first and last name and spell them both?
My name is Sane Benavides. Sane is spelled S-E-I-N. Benavides, B-E-N-A-V-I-D-E-S.
Okay, you can proceed, Quentin.
And Mr. Benavides, are you a senior, junior, first, second?
Senior.
Senior. Would it be fair to say your son is Sane Benavides the third?
The second.
The second.
Yes.
Thank you. And his middle name is Paul.
Yes.
Okay. And were you with your son, right? Were you with your son at all on March 7th of 2022?
Yes, I was.
Approximately what time were you with him?
Probably about 2:25, 2:30 p.m.
Yeah, so in the afternoon. And where were you with your son?
Speedway gas station,
Do you know which Speedway gas station?
the one in Old Town, which is on East Cesar Chavez Avenue.
And where is that in? is there any stores near that location that people might be familiar with?
Probably. Closest one probably is like 2 blocks east of Arctic Corner Ice Cream, the only ice cream shop in Old Town.
Is there a pet store near this?
Oh,
gas station?
Bruce Pet Store, yes,
Okay.
very popular.
All right. And do you know where your son was living at the time?
He was staying with his mom.
Okay. And do you know what her address is?
I believe it's 1507 Park Lane Avenue.
Okay. Is this gas station north or south of where your son was living at that time?
North.
And are you familiar with where Jolly Road in MLK is?
Yes,
Is that north and south, north or south of where your wife was living at the time?
south.
So your son met you at about 2:25 to 2:30 at a gas station across from Cruz Pets, north of his house, and but also north of Jolly Road and MLK.
That is correct.
So it'd be fair to say that that's in the opposite direction of Jolly Road from your son's house?
Yes.
Or where your son was living at the time?
Yes.
And how are you sure that you were with him at that time? Or let me ask it this way. Why were you at the gas station with your son on that day at that time?
He needed some gas for his car and some lunch money. Well, he didn't ask for lunch money. I usually give him a few dollars.
Okay. So you were there to help him out so he could get gas in his car?
Yeah, yes.
I don't believe I have any further questions.
Processing.
Mr. Benavides, how can you be so sure as to the time?
I had to hurry because of the fact that he goes to work at 3 o'clock.
But so because of that, you're sure that back on 3/7, it was from 2:25 to 2:30?
We were there probably from 2:25 to probably 2:50.
And it's not possible that it was even at 2:30 or 2:35?
No, couldn't have been.
Why not?
Because I remember getting there and thinking he had time, we had time to talk and still get to work on time.
It's not any independent verification, it's your memory. Yes?
I would, I guess I question how I have to answer that. Is that a yes or no question or?
Yes or no?
Okay, fair enough. I call it based, I say yes. It's based on fact. I look at my phone very often.
But it's based on your memory, correct? There wasn't.
Memory of looking at my phone.
Okay.
When you say look at your phone, what does that mean? Like to verify what time it was, or?
I am one of those people who live by my phone. I do a lot of things with email, social media, phone calls, etc. I'm constantly looking at my phone. That's how I know.
Did you text him, call him, anything like that during this time?
During that time?
Seeing where he was when he was
No,
gonna
he
be
was in
there?
front of me.
What do you mean he was in front of
You said during that time, he was in front of me during that time. I would not call
you?
him.
Did you wait for him at Speedway?
Pardon?
Did you get to Speedway before him? Or did you drive there together?
No, actually, he was waiting.
He was waiting. Okay.
He usually picks.
Your Honor, at this time, people have no further questions.
Okay, well, I just want to know, how are you sure that this happened on March 7th and not another date? The date that you gave him some money and gas.
I don't work on Monday nights, my day off. I would have been sleeping. I work overnight, I sleep during the day.
Okay, so so because of that, you know that there was a March 7th that you met him at the Speedway in Old Town?
Yes,
Okay, and you don't have anything else that will cause you to recall that date specifically, or it's just it would be March 7th versus March 14th that you met him on that
nothing that I could make reference to, I suppose, other than the fact that I know it's my night off.
day? Okay, redirect.
Just a couple of brief questions. So when you say you know the time, because you look at your phone, correct? Would you have looked at your phone when you got out of your car to go talk to your son?
More than likely, yes.
Okay. You testified that you did that in the time as in your memory because it led you to believe you had enough time to talk before
Yes,
you had to go to work. You had to go to work or your son had to go?
he had to go to work. He had to be there by 3,
Okay.
and he had to still travel.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Benavides, there is a sequestration order, so you are not to discuss any portions of your testimony with any other witnesses, okay? Thank you. You can be excused.
Thank you.
You can call your next witness.
I have no further witnesses at this time. Rest.
You got a witnesses?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, and you said you weren't submitting any other proofs because there's a felony firearm.
Yes, Your Honor, that felony is committed with a firearm, not a felon in possession of a
Oh,
firearm.
okay, very good. You can proceed.
Your Honor, based on the testimony of the victim, Lisa Medina, I believe that the elements for each of these crimes has been met to a probable cause standard. They had been in a dating relationship. He pointed a gun at her, threatened to shoot her, which put her in fear of immediate harm, which falls as an assault in the domestic relationship. That meets the elements for count 1, domestic violence. It also meets the elements for count 2, felonious assault, given the fact that he assaulted her with a dangerous weapon, that being a firearm. And for count 3, felony firearm, he committed the felonies of domestic violence, third offense, and felonious assault while carrying or having in his possession a firearm, to wit, a handgun. We heard that testimony from the victim clear as day. She knows with a certainty that it was Mr. Benavides. They were together for 7 years. She immediately ran to the house and called 911 for help. It was clear while on the stand that she was being as truthful as she could be, that she was being as consistent as she was able to be in the fact of this very frightening situation. Now, while Mr. Nickel has presented testimony from the defendant's family, that alone says that it should be taken with a grain of salt. This is the defendant's family. Quite literally, the people who would do the most for someone, for your parents. And validity, what they've been saying, is a matter of fact for a jury. But today, probable cause standard has been met. I'd ask that you bind over as charged.
Mr. Nickel.
Yes, Your Honor. On behalf of Mr. Benavides, I would ask that Your Honor not bind over as charged on any of the incidents. The court heard the testimony of Mr. Benavides' mother. I will agree that that is his mother and she is his family. But her testimony was that Mr. Benavides was at her home all day. He didn't leave until a 2:15. And that the car that was seen in the security video leaving at approximately 2:18 was her son's vehicle. It was how the vehicle looked on the date in question. There's a silver vehicle with rose gold rims. When Ms. Medina testified, I understand the prosecutor's taking the position that Ms. Medina was being as truthful as she could be. I would take a different position. I believe that Miss Medina was being cagey. I believe she was being dishonest. I believe her credibility is very suspect here. She testified that originally she testified that the vehicle on the day that he was driving had a black hood. She didn't remember what color the rims were. Then, after playing the 911 call, she acknowledged that she told the police that on that day he was driving a silver vehicle with peach rims. Not what does he drive. The question on the 911 call, which she acknowledged she was answering, was what was he driving? And her answer was silver Mercedes, peach rims. And then on redirect, she went back to, I don't know, and maybe I was just trying to tell her, I was just trying to inform them what I thought he drove. I think.
We played the video, he was driving a silver.
And
vehicle
so,
with peach rims.
yes.
Or
And-
rose gold, however you want to call it.
And that vehicle was in his mother's driveway and not at her house. And
How do we know that? No, I don't know what time this incident took place at her house. That was never provided to the court.
And so I would ask the court not to bind this matter over. Like I said, I think her testimony is ever changing about significant details. She does know what kind of car she drives. She knows what he was driving that day. And I think the details that she doesn't remember it is convenient what she doesn't remember, specifically anything about the time. And again, testimony from his mother is that he and that vehicle were there all day. And so I would ask the court not to bind the case over at this time.
Thank you. Today was the date that was set for preliminary examination, and Mr. Benavides, for your information, the burden is on the prosecution at the preliminary examination. They need to establish that there is sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to charge you, the defendant, as the one who committed the crime. And so that's a pretty flexible burden. The burden is relatively low. It's not to be confused with the burden that they'll face if this matter is bound over and continues to trial. At trial, the burden is much larger. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. This burden here only requires that they provide the court with more than mere suspicion that a crime was committed. And so I'm not going to rehash the testimony that was given verbatim, but we do have a testimony from Alicia Medina, who states that on March 7th, 2022, at the area of 1401 West Jolly Road, City of Lansing, Ingham County, making venue before this court appropriate, that an incident occurred outside that address, which she states is her mother's address, and that she was living there at the time. And she indicates that the defendant appeared in a vehicle and pointed a gun, small silver firearm at her and threatened to kill and shoot her. To which she ran into the house. She testified there was another vehicle also with tinted windows behind him. There was testimony from Ms. Yvonne Benavides video that was presented as well, and also some testimony from Mr. Sane Benavides Sr. And whereas I think that information that was presented by Mr. Nickel does raise some pretty valid questions, that think that the element or the evidence that's missing is to tell me, the court, what time this alleged incident occurred. And at this point, I have no idea. There was some information or evidence for me to have viewed that showed that this information or this incident allegedly happened during the time frame in which we see clearly, based on the video, that he was at his house, or during the time in which his father said he met him. That's one thing. I have zero idea what time this incident occurred, and the witness was very clear that she didn't remember, but the defense has access to that information. And that's information he can present to a jury for them to determine, because I think this is a question of fact for a jury to find during a jury trial. So at this point, I believe that there is sufficient probable cause to bind over as to count one, domestic violence, which is a misdemeanor, but it's going to accompany a third offense notice, making it a felony. And so that matter will be bound over to the circuit court for the prosecution. Count 2 of assault with a dangerous weapon being a felonious assault, again, based on the testimony evidence of Ms. Medina of the action that took place at the address of 1401, the court is satisfied that there is sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and that this defendant, there's sufficient probable cause that this defendant committed the crime. So count 2 will be bound over, as well as count 3, weapons, felony, firearm with an habitual offender third offense notice. You do not need to appear in court or arraignment unless your attorney presents the circuit court with a reason as to why you need to have an arraignment at circuit court. Your bind over date is going to be June 1st. And that's just the date that they get the file from this court. Your next court date will be in circuit court. It'll be a pretrial. Mr. Nickel will be made aware of that date. He'll keep you informed of that date, okay, sir? Do you have any questions?
I kind of had a question on the, with, we do have evidence with where I was at that time.
That's not really a question for me. It wasn't presented to me. I can only base my decision off evidence that was presented today. There's obviously, I'm sure, a ton of other evidence that either party can present to a jury, or maybe file a motion based on those, whatever evidence you're talking about. But nonetheless, the evidence that was presented to me is sufficient for probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to charge you with the crime. And you can discuss with your attorney about any additional evidence that needs to be submitted to further any defense you believe you have to the charge, okay? Do you have any other questions?
So that, is that, Your Honor, yeah, I had a question on pretty much why can we justify it here today again?
I didn't hear what you said.
To justify it here again, you said?
I'm not understanding your question. To justify what?
I can answer that question for him.
Okay, you want to answer that off the record with him?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Any additional matter, we can go off the record and let you have time here, unless you want to go downstairs and talk to him.
Okay, I can have. If we go off the record and I can explain.
Sounds good. We're off the record.